morning, Tuesday, November 7th. Amazon flash briefing.
Jamie, getting your flash briefing. In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The Supreme Court hears arguments today in a major case. It challenges the federal law that makes it illegal for anyone who is the subject of a domestic violence court order to own a gun. NPR's Nina Totenberg reports.
The challenge to the federal gun law was brought by Zackey Rahimi, who's become something of a poster child for why Congress passed the domestic violence gun law. In 2019, Rahimi assaulted his girlfriend in a parking lot, and after realizing that a bystander saw the assault, he fired a gun at the witness and threatened to shoot his girlfriend if she told anyone. 2 months later, a Texas court granted her a protective order, suspended Rahimi's gun license, and warned him that possession of a gun while the order was in effect was a federal felony. But Rahimi violated the court order, threatened another woman with a gun, and over a single month fired gunshots on 5 separate occasions in public. After police searched his residence, finding guns and ammunition, he pleaded guilty to violating the federal law, but a federal appeals court struck down the law as unconstitutional. Now that question is before the Supreme Court. Nina Totenberg, NPR News, Washington.
Right.
It's been exactly 1 month since Hamas militants attacked Israel, killing more than 1,400 people. Hamas is holding about 240 people hostage. Israel responded by striking Gaza. Health officials in Gaza say the strikes have killed more than 10,000 Palestinians. NPR's Daniel Estrin says the conflict is historic.
This is the deadliest round of fighting between Israelis and Palestinians since the 1948 war, where Israel was founded, where Palestinians were uprooted from their homes. So Palestinians in Gaza are fearing yet another mass displacement like that formative time. Israelis and Jews are experiencing this as the biggest single day of loss that they've had since the Holocaust.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will have to control Gaza's security once the war is over. Stocks opened mixed this morning as the Commerce Department reported the nation's trade deficit widened in September. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped about a point in early trading.
The U.S. trade gap grew more than expected in September to $61.5 billion. Exports and imports were both up during the month, but imports grew faster. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen visits the IRS this afternoon to talk about the upcoming tax season. Congress has set aside tens of billions of dollars to improve customer service at the agency and beef up tax enforcement. House Republicans keep trying to chip away at that funding. Uber reported a larger quarterly profit thanks to a 21% jump in its ride-sharing business compared to a year ago. Office sharing, not so profitable. Trading in WeWork stock was halted after the company said it's filing for bankruptcy protection. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up nearly 5 points. This is NPR.
No, you're both chipping away ahead.
It's election day in several states. Although it's an off-year election, there are key races to watch. In Kentucky, voters will choose whether to keep Democratic Governor Andy Beshear or elect Republican challenger Daniel Cameron, Kentucky's Attorney General. Colorado voters will decide whether tens of millions in excess tax revenues from tobacco sales will continue to flow into early childhood education. From Colorado Public Radio, John Daly has more.
In 2020, voters approved a proposal to raise millions from tobacco taxes for a universal pre-kindergarten program. But the tax revenue raised overshot estimates by almost $24 million. And the state constitution requires that money collected in excess of a tax's projected revenue be refunded unless voters allow the government to keep the money. Annalise Ramoser with the Save the Children Action Network says state support is critical for early education programs.
Reliable and sustainable funding is hugely valuable.
If voters decide the funds should not stay with the state, the surplus revenues would go back to tobacco sellers. For NPR News, I'm John Daly in Denver.
The issue of abortion is directly before Ohio voters. They're deciding whether to change the state's constitution to allow people to seek abortions. This also includes the right to seek fertility treatments and the right to contraception. Voters in Virginia are choosing members of their state legislature. If Republicans win control of both chambers, they could support Virginia's Republican governor. They could seek to pass a ban on abortion after 15 weeks. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in Washington.
In NASA News. NASA's short-form narrative podcast, The NASA's Curious Universe, returns for its 6th season November 7th. This season will bring listeners on new wild and wonderful adventures from the farthest reaches of the cosmos to right here on planet Earth. In Season 6, listeners will meet researchers who are using sounds from the sun to learn crucial. NASA is inviting the public to take part in virtual activities ahead of the launch of SpaceX's 29th commercial resupply services mission to the International Space Station. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft is targeted for no earlier than 8:28 p.m. EST Thursday, November 9th, from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's.
All right.
The new images from the Euclid mission include a cluster of thousands of distant galaxies, demonstrating the spacecraft's unique abilities. The Euclid mission, which will investigate the mysteries of dark matter and dark energy, released its first 5 science images Tuesday, November 7th. The observatory, led by ESA, European Space Agency, with NASA contributions, is November 2023. I am pleased to welcome you to this new blog series, what my team affectionately calls Nikki Notes. Through this platform, I hope to regularly share updates about all of the exciting work we do in the Science Mission Directorate, while offering some more candid reflections. NASA Associate Administrator Bob Cabana presented an award to Richard Donnet Monday for his outstanding achievement in creating the NASA worm logotype and inspiring the world through the medium of design for the benefit of humanity. The Exceptional Public Achievement Medal was presented to Donnet following a panel discussion at NASA headquarters in Washington featuring in weather,
All right, Amazon.
in Seattle.
Off. Amazon, tell us a joke.
It's 51 degrees
Amazon.
Fahrenheit with.
Tell us a joke.
Where do families argue at the mall? In the feud court.
Apparently at the mall.
Today's forecast calls for
Amazon.
more of the same, with a high of 54 degrees and a low of 43
Amazon.
degrees.
Thank you. Okay. She just had to finish her say.